Major League Baseball, MLB.com, doesn't think the Astros will make the World Series once over the next 10 years. They put this graphic out yesterday because we're a month away from spring training, so they're searching for content. They predicted the next 10 World Series matchups. I'm not going to go through all of these, but not a single one of them, next 10 years, starting in 23, ending in 32, list the Astros as the representative out of the American League.
This is just so typical of MLB.com. This is so typical of any arm of Major League Baseball that starts with the commissioner's office, because Robbie Manfred, as you call him because you know him well, Rob Manfred is a joke. And everything underneath him is too, because no matter what, hell or high water, they are going to find a way to try and crap all over the Astros. I go back to the playoff commercials they were running, and they were basically using highlights of every other team and every other player and no Astros, and just continue to crap on the Houston. Let them keep doing it, because you know what? The more they do this crap, the more they promote the best rotations in baseball and crap on the Astros. And who's going to win the next 10 World Series? And it isn't the Astros. The Astros just keep doing what they do. They win. They prove MLB and Rob Manfred wrong. And he hates every bit of it, so let's just keep doing it.
Scale of 1 to 10.
God, I dislike that
Play
guy.
Davils at Manfred?
Yes.
No one does. He's a fraud. Scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10 that the Astros make a World Series in the next 10 years?
8.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's about where I'm
a good
at.
number.
I mean, making the World Series is hard. Like, I know the Astros have made it look easy over the last 6 years.
Injuries and other things. Everything's got to line up. But I like the roster. I like everything about where they're at. I think that it wouldn't take anything more than them being who they are to make another one in the next 10 years.
Really good foundation. I mean, you have Pena for the next 5 years. You've locked in Jordan for the next 6. I mean, stud. You have Tucker for 3 more years. Bregman for 2. Altuve for 2. Now, those are a little bit of the elder foundation, but the younger foundation there. And then you look at the pitching staff. Hunter Brown, how good do we think he's going to be? He'll have 6 years of club control. Javier has 3. Fromber has 3. You still have Luis Garcia as a good young pitcher as well. Really good foundation for the Houston Astros, and Crane has shown that he's willing to spend up to the competitive balance tax when he needs to. This is from Texas Rangers Insider, which is probably just like kind of a fan site on Twitter. But they predicted the finish of the American League West in 2023, and they list the Texas Rangers ahead of the Houston Astros. They list them ahead of the Seattle Mariners. They list them ahead of the Anaheim Angels. I'll be honest with you. If Texas finishes above 4th in the American League West, I would be stunned. I think it's going to go Astros, Mariners, Angels, Rangers.
I think it's probably right. I think that's probably right. And DeGrom's got to stay healthy. And I still think they have so many holes to fill.
Rare.
And it is rare. I think they reached just simply because of his health. Yeah, I think that they saw the rest of the division and thought, oh, God, for as much as we've already spent on 2 shortstops, we got to spend a whole hell of a lot more trying to rebuild our pitching staff to get to where they are. And now it's both of those teams, because I think that the Mariners are for real, and they're trying to take the next step up to compete with the Astros, and the Angels are doing everything right for a change in trying to add the complementary pieces at as many as they can around their big studs, hoping they can stay healthy. So I could see that being realistic, but I don't think it's realistic to say the Rangers are going to finish above the Astros. That's ridiculous.
They'd be lucky to get on the podium in the American League West in 2023.
Hey guys, back to the video in just 1 minute. Before that, I want to tell you about Fitz Roofing. If you got a leaky roof or need a full roof replacement on your business or your home, or you want to get something done around the yard or maybe something around the house, they have the best warranties in the business, the best ratings, and the best service. They're going to take care of you every step of the way. Fitz Roofing, making a difference, one home at a time.
All right, Houston Astros pitchers and catchers report in a little over a month. Valentine's Day is when pitchers and catchers report for the Houston Astros. Do you think the Astros are done? Do you think they're done making moves, that what they have is what they're going to go into the season with?
I don't, but I say that with the caveat. It's not going to be any kind of like big earth-shaking move. It's going to be either Yuli or someone like Yuli to fill up the bench in the role of utility. But other than that, I think they're done.
They don't have to make another move. Like, I think that there's a chance that they go into the season with what they have currently. I don't think that they have to do something else because you have a couple of utility guys already. Like if you think that Hensley's going to make this big league team, then your roster's set. Yeah. Like you have enough position players that you're breaking camp. Like your catchers would be Maldi, and then whoever that wins the backup job between Diaz and Lee. First baseman's Abreu, Altuve, Bregman, Pena around the infield. Your outfield, Jordan, Chaz, Tucker. Your backup outfielders are Myers, and then Brantley's your DH, splitting time with Jordan. And then if Hensley makes the team, that is your final position player. Yeah. So unless you bring in somebody else. That's your 26-man roster on opening day.
The reason why I bring up Yuli is for two reasons. One, we know that the fans love him, but I think that the Bagwell factor is going to factor in. Whenever Baggy talked about him, he was always gushing and glowing about him on any telecast about his ability to command the plate and the strike zone and do the things as a contact hitter. And I just think that as they currently stand and sit, and I think obviously we haven't heard anything with all the focus on football and everything else too, but I question whether we're going to have another general manager in place by spring training.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, I think the Baggy influence might get Yuli done for a 1-year deal and be a guy that they make room for. But other than that, you're right. They don't have to make another move.
The general manager thing is interesting, and Jim Crane said that the Astros would hire a manager before spring training, so we'll see if it actually comes to fruition or not. I think it's possible they just upgrade and promote one of their assistant general managers. Like, okay,
I think they
GM.
ride out the storm. There's nothing that says they have to do it, like you said. And the other thing is, in a year's time, if they are, which had been rumored, enamored with David Stern in Milwaukee, and his contract expires after this season, there's a guy you can go out and get in a year's time.
Yeah. I like the idea of Hensley starting the year in Sugar Land. I honestly do.
Because he's got enough options.
He has options. I like to have a guy down in the minors that if a player gets hurt, that he's ready to go. You're not just bringing up a player that has zero big league experience. He's an unknown. So I like the idea of bringing in a utility player and just starting the season with Hensley down in Sugar Land. I've seen some people kind of bring up the idea, why are the Astros even bringing back Mauricio Dubon? And I know that we've had fun with Mauricio Dubon, and he was Verlader's personal center fielder, all of that. Mauricio Dubon carries value on a big league team because he can play every single position. He's not going to hit, but he's a good dude to have on the bench because he can play literally every position. I have no problem with Dubon.
Yeah, the team's so talented offensively, you don't need him to hit 300.
He's cheap. He's a good utility guy. Plays some good defense. He's not going to hit much. Good guy to have around. He hands Jordan Alvarez water when he hits a home run. He's a great guy to have on the team. But this team currently has 13 players that could be on the big league team. So I could see a possibility where you don't add another offensive player. I would like it to be a super utility guy. If it's Julie, I'm fine with that. And then you have Hensley down in Sugar Land. Now, the pitching staff could also potentially be set. People have talked about a left-handed reliever. We teased Jim Bowden of The Athletic. He suggests moves from every team before spring training. And he said the Astros with a left-hand pitcher, left-hand bat. I want to start with the left-hand pitcher aspect. Dusty's always wanted his loogie, right? Dusty's always wanted his left-handed pitcher. Now, Blake Taylor's probably going to be healthy, but the Astros can carry 13 pitchers, right? 13
Can he
pitchers.
be better and healthy?
I don't think he's going to be better.
Oh, that's not
I think
good.
Blake.
That's unfortunate.
I think Balaki is going to be who Balaki is.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But you look at the Astros pitching staff. You have starting rotation. I think it'll be a 6-man rotation. McCullers, Fromber, Urquidy, Javier, Garcia, and Brown. You have a bullpen of Presley, Montero, Neris, Stanek, Abreu, Maton. And then you have a couple of options for that final job. Seth Martinez, Blake Taylor. You could easily go into opening day without adding another reliever. So I think the Astros potentially could be done.
They could. They very well could be
done. And if they are done, I'm fine with it. Hensley's on the roster, and Martinez probably gets that last job in the bullpen.
It's still as talented a roster as any in baseball, and that's why you don't have to worry if they are done. You're not like a team that's sitting there desperately going, God, we still have holes here and there to fill, and what are we going to do if this happens? Well, you don't have to have any of that. You've got depth at the starting rotation, which is always so key. You've got just a loaded offensive lineup, which is absolutely fantastic. And around the diamond, you have perennial all-stars seemingly, and you've got backups that can fill the role on a short-term basis. So you're in a great position that could only get better, and you know that the other teams in your division are chasing every opportunity to try and get better because they know how good you are. Otherwise, Trevor Bauer wouldn't be rumored to be a Ranger or a Mariner because of the fact that no matter what they've done and continue to do and grasp at straws and try and overspend, they know they're not good enough yet to be who you are.
Did you just say Bauer to Seattle?
I had heard it this morning.
That makes a lot of sense.
It really does, because if they're in go-for-it mode and there's a guy that no one thought was going to be available and they could go get a big-time front-of-the-rotation guy at probably a cheap price, it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. Now, if the Astros do add another arm to the bullpen, I don't think they have to, because if you add an arm, it means Martinez is starting the year in Sugar Land. Blake Taylor starting the year in Sugar Land. I agree with Bowden that it's going to be a left-handed reliever. Dusty Baker desperately wants a loogie, even though you have a 3-batter minimum. He wants a loogie desperately. They traded Jake Overeasy for Will Smith last year. Todd, the show, mentions the name that I like. I've liked him for the last few years, Andrew Chafin. I still think the Astros probably
I think it's a good fit.
I think the Astros eventually do sign a left-handed reliever. I think it is going to be
Dusty likes
I don't
him.
know if it'll be Chafin or not, but I do think the Astros sign a lefty before
I wouldn't be mad if
spring
it was
training.
Chafin.
Oh, no, I want it to be Chafin. I want it to be Chafin. Now, what Bowden said about the utility player, because I think the Astros could use a utility player, he said a left-handed bat. This is kind of what's interesting to me, because you go around the infield, like they're all righties. Abreu's a righty, Altuve's a righty, Bregman's a righty, Pena's a righty. But the utility guy's probably going to be a little bit of a DH too, right? Because you have Brantley and Jordan who aren't going to play every day in left field. Brantley's probably not going to play a whole lot against left-handed pitching, especially with him coming off the shoulder injury. You want to take it easy with Michael Brantley. For me, it makes sense more if it's a right-handed hitter because they're going to be in the mix for DH starts against left-handed pitching than it does a left-handed hitter.
And that actually makes sense to me. Look, I think that the big thing to me is I understand that, lefty priority, lefty bullpen guy, lefty bats, all these different things that we were talking about even at the start of the offseason. But I think the biggest thing to me is just Michael Brantley's health.
Sure.
If Michael Brantley's healthy, he subsides a lot of what you're worried about offensively. And I think that, as a stud stick in the middle of the lineup, that handles a lot of what you're looking for. I think the utility is top of the list. I just think that that's the one position that you could fill. And I think we nailed the other one. I think that if they're going to do anything from this point forward, it's going to be the utility. It's going to be a left-handed reliever. Other than that, they don't have to do a single thing. Everybody still keeps grasping at straws with Trevor Bauer. Don't need him. Don't need the hassle that goes with him. Don't need to restart the fire of all the ugliness and the anti-Astro talk. Just stay away from it because you're too good. You're good enough without him that you don't have to go desperation to get him. So I think it's one of those two positions. If they do it, great. If they don't, they're still great.
That's why the Profar thing's big to me because you mentioned
he
the
wants
health
to
of
be a
Brantley.
Starter, though, from what I've heard.
I don't doubt that, but if you can, no one signed him to be a starter yet. Like he's running
but
out
the
of
Mets
options.
have
He's got a month.
openings. The Mets are considered because the other
Not
guy
for outfield.
No, I'm saying the Mets have an opening. They want a bat, but the reason why Profar's not going to fit the profile is because Profar wants to be a starter. The guy that they're looking at right now, ironically, is our former player that I loved that didn't work out, Trey Mancini.
Oh, are they? Yeah, I
Because
want
he can be exactly what he was for the Astros in the playoffs.
I want
DH
Mancini
first base fill-in guy.
I want Mancini to go somewhere where I can root for him.
I do too.
Like if you look at the starting nine, what the projected starting nine is, what are the two biggest injury concerns on this team? Because I feel like I think you're failing as a general manager when you don't prepare for injury. Like you should be preparing for pretty much everything. I don't really think it's catcher.
I do because the fact that you don't have a veteran behind him because you have an experienced
You don't have
staff.
a veteran, but you have two good young catchers who I think they're comfortable playing 80 games a year.
See, I don't think they're there yet. And I think that because it's such a vital position now that you take the ace out of the equation in terms of the experienced veteran kind of guy that handles his own business in a Verlander, you've got a lot of guys that rely heavily on being in-game managed by the catcher. And I think that if you lose Maldi for an extended period of time and don't have a veteran behind him, I don't think that a catcher just trying to find his way in the major leagues is going to come out and he's not going to feel comfortable doing that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that he's capable of doing that.
I think offensively, the two obvious injury concerns would be Brantley and Jordan. And they're really the same position, left field,
offensively
DH.
For sure.
So if you're looking at like a spot that you have a player that could protect, like be the insurance in case Jordan or Brantley get hurt, it's a dude that can play left field. It's a dude that could bat from the right-handed side of the plate. Profar is a switch hitter. Profar you're not guaranteeing him a starting job, but you're telling him, look, you're going to start 120 games.
Jeremy, I don't think
every off day that somebody has, you're starting.
Even if there's no setbacks, I'm not expecting Michael Brantley opening day.
I am.
I'm not.
But to your point, that's what makes Profar even
that's
more
why
appealing.
He's more valuable because I think they're not going to rush him back. The World Series wasn't won in April, and I don't think that they're going to make sure that Michael Brantley's ready for opening day. They're going to make sure Michael Brantley's ready.
I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. I think that he's probably going to be back, but if the Astros go conservative with Brantley, I have no issue with that whatsoever.
That's why, no matter what Jordan starts, Baggy's points about how much he wants to see and the organization wants to see Jordan in the outfield, early on in the season, that's the reason why Jordan's going to be playing left field.